Welcome back to Action Jack-0ffs, the show where we talk about the very best and favorite action movies of all time. And today we are talking about the Marvel superhero movie from 2003, Hulk, starring Eric Bana, Jennifer Connelly, Sam Elliott, and Nick Nolte. And already getting right off to it, what you think of this movie?
I loved it for nostalgia purposes. It was really slow. Parts of it I had real problems with. But all in all, I liked it. I still think it's great, even though it sucks.
I still enjoy so many things about it, but I will
I
agree
like
with
that. I
you.
like that they took the swing.
Yeah, I'm glad that they at least tried something. Because from what I understand, this movie was in development hell since 1991 or 1990. Basically, for over 10 years, they were working on this movie, trying different things, trying to get it off the ground. And I'm kind of intrigued that they tried to work something out so early on, like especially in the 90s, with the kind of technology that I'm guessing they were assuming they were going to use to make this work. Like,
Bodybuilders, Arnold
but
Schwarzenegger.
I guess I
I
don't
think that was their original idea, was just to go with like suits or
some kind of
animatronics or
yeah
something.
some kind of animatronic
Stop
suit
motion.
or something because there was no way that they were going to be able to make it work with what they had in mind. And
I really,
everything I've looked into, I have not been able to find something that would indicate what the effects were going to look like.
I really wish that they had just made a stop motion animation like effect for Hulk. Like I wish that just came out at some point.
Yeah,
Like that old movie with the skeletons, or like how Jurassic Park almost was stop motion.
yeah, yeah. Jason and the Argonauts, I think, is what you were thinking of. Um,
Yes, yes.
Great movie.
Great
Uh,
movie. I just always it just has such a ridiculous name. I wish it was
yeah.
just like Pirate Island or something stupid.
So interesting little tidbit is that the movie began developing under the influence of Gail Ann Hurd, who we've talked about on the show before, was one of the driving minds behind Terminator. And I just thought that was really interesting.
It is very interesting. I
But
love her. Great
yeah,
mind.
yeah. Now, let's see here. So, yeah, so it seems that all the way back in 1997, they had brought Industrial Light and Magic, the CGI studio. They
Our
had,
boys.
they had brought them on in an attempt to create the Hulk, and it seems like they eventually came around in 2003. And I just wanted to say, what do you? I mean, I the effects are interesting in a way that makes me, appreciate where they were at technology wise in 2003.
You better watch your step, Gary, because he won't like me when I'm angry.
Yeah. What did you think of the CGI? It's the biggest part of the movie. Really, it's the most eye catching part of the movie. What did you think of it?
Biggest, literally.
Yeah.
Well, since we watched this one together, we had some margs, some tacos, some large margaritas,
Yeah.
and we sat down together and we watched this film. We talked about it a little bit while we were watching it, that like in the dark with the shadows and the editing style, it really does work in the darker, less well lit scenes.
Like in the
Like
opening, like in the beginning scene where he first hulks out and
with Nick Nolte.
in the lab. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, like that one really works. The dogfight really works. It's really once you get to the San Francisco tank battle, even the fight at the end works when it's all just like shadow and he's fighting lightning and water and shit.
Yeah. Yeah. Because some things work better as CGI. Things like metal, things like um, water seem to work really well. And
And what you had said during while we were watching it, the effect when Nick Nolte is first absorbing like the paint and the metallic metal around him and the energy when he kills the first guy. That
Yeah,
effect does work really
that
well.
effect still holds up, I think, without
That's
fault.
actually a really clever effect because it's
Yeah.
probably mostly practical with a
Well,
little bit of CGI
well,
rendering.
yeah. It's got to be like all CGI because he's basically it's his hand and the way he's able to pull his hand from the metallic surface just seems so well done. Like it just seems so fluid, and I think that's where it just still holds up. Is just this seamless transition between effect and reality, and
It
it's
reminds me a lot
fluid.
of the Terminator 2 effect,
Yes,
where Robert, I forget what his name is right now, but the
Patrick.
guy who plays, yeah, Robert Patrick, who plays T1000, whenever he's running around with the practical bullet holes, but the CGI is how it shows them form,
Yes.
where it's like a merge of the practical and the CGI effect. Like, I just love when they do stuff like that.
Yeah,
They don't
it
do it
was
as
great.
much. Now it's just all CGI background, CGI reality, CGI suits.
You could argue that this movie kind of started that, but the interesting thing,
I think Star Wars started it.
probably, yeah, that actually makes more sense because this was around the same time those movies were coming out, the prequels.
Hmm.
But
Yeah, I think when George Lucas started doing the whole blue screen everything and then doing like multiple layers on top of it is when it all really started.
yeah, to this film's credit, there when the Hulk interacts with a lot of practical things that are actually there, that they to better build the illusion of the Hulk being actually there, they make it to where he's interacting with a lot of his environment, especially in that first Hulk out. That first Hulk out, I think, is just pure cinema.
Oh, it's best.
Because he's
That should have been the climax of the movie.
no, but
No.
no, it works. It works as a intro, is the beginning part of the movie. I don't remember how long into the movie we were though, because we were going, and I just wanted to finish my thought of that. I was really impressed with the fact that they were able to get it to where they're smashing all these like real things, office supplies, lab equipment, all that stuff's actually getting like destroyed and crushed and all that stuff. And the way they're just having the whole kind of like mosey through everything, I think it's just really well done. But I think that, oh man, where was I going after that?
Oh no.
Oh man, I forgot. I lost it. I lost it. No.
It's just another beautiful merger of the practical and the CGI,
Yeah.
using real destruction, and then the CGI monster running through it all.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I was where I was going
Here we
previously
go.
was we I don't recall how long into the movie we were before that first Hulk out happened, but I do remember watching the movie and just kind of having like my own various like thoughts and opinions so far on like the different actors, the acting style, the pacing of the movie was kind of like all over the place for a little bit there. Some of the exposition was too exposition-y.
Jump cuts to flashbacks to other flashbacks.
The editing, the biggest thing you could talk about with this movie is definitely the editing style. Um, Ang Lee wanted to make a comic book movie, and he wanted to make it as much comic book as possible.
Panels.
So panels. So you got panels within
Panels. Jump
panels.
cuts.
Wipes, like just
Fadeaways.
so many different types of. It's like somebody calling out a basketball game or something. Like it's just there's so many fadeaways and it's so funny.
That's incredible. That's a great bit. Go ahead and post that.
Thank you, appreciate that. But yeah, so then the movie's going, and then right before we get to the part where he gets hit with the gamma radiation and the nanomeds, which I do want to say that the it's very 2003 movie that's been in development hell for 10 plus years when they add something like nanomeds to the Hulk mythos, where they make it to where instead of him just being, able to heal really quickly, they add the nanomeds, which the nanomeds trigger these transformations because they react to some kind of pain, whether it be emotional or physical. and they are also what keep him alive by healing him. So, and I remember I was bringing this up, and I remember you saying something like, "Oh yeah, I mean it's just too complicated. They make it too complicated for complicated sake."
It really does, because the way that you're explaining it, I'm like, I don't even think the movie tries that hard to explain it.
No, because the movie is trying to passively integrate these things into the movie. Like these nanomeds are supposed to be like this big deal within the context of the movie. I mean, it's what the military is after. It's what everybody's after. Nick Nolte gets his hands on it. Nick Nolte plays uh, Bruce's like dad in the movie. For those of you that haven't seen it for whatever reason, you clicked on this video. Um,
And we decided to call him Brian Banner in this movie.
which, well, his name is Brian Banner in the comics. He goes by David Banner in the movie.
Oh yeah, that's what it is.
Which is
I had it backwards, which is a nod to the show.
Which is a nod to the show, because this movie is basically a nod to the show in so many different ways. Because the show is the Incredible Hulk TV show is so influential. Because I think by the time the last TV movie for the original TV show had come out was when they started development on this movie.
Thor?
It was
or is that the first one?
That was the first one. That was the Return of the Incredible Hulk. The next one was the Trial of the Incredible Hulk, and then the last one was in 1990, and it was the Death of the Incredible Hulk. So,
hey, guess what?
What's
incredible.
Up? Very incredible. So, yeah, going into the gamma exposure scene, I was sitting there thinking to myself, I was like, man, you know, they do a really good job of just making you think that nothing is happening, because we're however long into the movie and you're just like, man, nothing is happening. Not a fucking thing. And then whenever the catastrophe does kick off and the tragedy begins, that's when you're like, oh shit. Now something's like it takes you by surprise very well. And you're just like, oh shit, now we're in the trenches.
Now we're going.
Yeah. I did say this. I loved how, like, when we were watching this, we were just kind of like riffing the whole time, or just like critiquing it as we went, which I still think would be a great idea for a live commentary if we ever did that.
Yeah, just doing commentary.
Yeah.
It'd be ridiculous. I feel like we'd have to edit it out, or parts of it at least.
We would have to, because there would be parts of the movie where we just like stop talking and watch the movie, which is a testament to what we did during this movie, because whenever we were watching this movie, we'd be talking and stuff like that. But then whenever there was a Hulk out, that's when we like stopped talking and we were like watching the
movie. Which is why it just kind of travels from set piece to set piece.
Yeah.
The in-between dialogue, they're just kind of whispering. We're just kind of seeing flashes and panels, and we're losing interest. And then the Hulk out happens, and we're right back into it. Nick Nolte's just being like, "You are my son."
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
I was also thinking that it's almost like they filmed him bite the electric cable first, because his vocal cords are just fried for the entire movie.
yeah. He was on like, I don't know, like 6 packs of cigarettes a day or something like that. Doctor's orders. He was
living his life.
You just watch me go. Yeah. So Nick Nolte, it kind of reminds me immediately of like all the different. So there were 3 people that I thought of whenever I was watching the movie, that I was like, okay, these people make the movie. Because like the casting is kind of like hit or miss. Jennifer Connelly, I think, is probably like the weak link of the movie. She doesn't really do a whole lot. Eric Bana, again, I'm kind of like whatever about his character, because like we hear so many things about him, but you know, the Bruce Banner character, we hear so many things about him, we like witness so many things with him, but like I don't really like get his character, because I don't really understand what his motivations are. I don't really understand like what his goal is.
The bike helmet did better acting than he did.
Yeah. But the 3 actors that really like saved the movie in many ways are Sam Elliott as Thunderbolt Ross, because you can't go wrong with a Sam Elliott performance. Sam Elliott, as we discussed when we watched the movie, is born to play Thunderbolt Ross.
It just is him.
It is him. Harrison Ford does his own thing, does well. The guy that
William Hurt does a really good job in the other movies when he's, Winter Soldier and Civil War and
and the
Avengers.
2008 Hulk and such.
Uh-huh. He
You know,
does all right, but
Sa-
it should be Tim Elliott the whole time.
Sam Elliott, he kills it.
He's the best.
Yeah,
Love old Sammy.
yeah. Then and then and then Nick Nolte is the other big one who plays David Banner.
Hey, what are you're absolutely sleeping on Josh Lucas.
I was about to bring Josh Lucas up next.
I was just about to say, what a schmarmy asshole born to just play Talbot types.
Yeah, he did really well. He wasn't on screen that much. He only had 4 big scenes, and then he was talked a lot about when he was off camera. His big scene.
He's sitting there hitting 3-pointers every time he's on screen, though.
Yeah, he's hitting it.
His death is explosive.
Yeah, he's Curry with it for sure. But yeah, he does a really good job playing a really like good bad guy. And I like how for the majority of the movie, it really is just like Hulk versus the military and labs and stuff like that. Like it's very not anti-military per se, but like anti-authority, anti-establishment. And then
He doesn't care how many people he's gonna kill, though.
yeah, but then at the very end of the movie, there's kind of like a curtail or a turncoat, and Nick Nolte becomes the bad guy. I guess he was always the bad guy in the movie. It's just that like he wasn't really like a posed threat. He was just there, and then he became the absorbing man. Which
Yeah, other than the dogs, he doesn't really do much in the movie.
no, not at all. I mean, yeah.
Other than
Well,
that work.
I guess he has more of a big role in the movie than we're giving him credit for, because doing the dogs thing leads to the second Hulk out of the movie, and that's like a big deal.
It's like a big deal.
I mean, like it is, it's
It's like a big
it's
deal.
like a big deal. It's not like it's a small deal or something silly. But we had that Hulk out. What was your favorite Hulk out in the whole movie?
I feel like it has to be the dog scene. I've talked about I've talked about this a few times where I used to just, have movies on DVR or like have watched like fractions of movie. There was a time period in my life where it was the ending of one of the Lou Ferrigno Hulk shows. It would start like I had a recording that would start at the end of the episode where he's getting hunted by the big game hunter guy who hunted people, but he didn't realize that he was hunting the Hulk.
Yeah, it's the most. I think it's the most dangerous game
Yes.
they have of the Hulk, because the guy kidnaps David Banner, thinking that he's just gonna kill David Banner, and then
Just some dude.
and then he becomes the Hulk. That's a really good episode.
That's my favorite episode. I don't know if it's because I have this core memory of just seeing the ending of that episode 100 times, where like he stabs himself with the arrows, and then he's riding away on the boat, and the dock explodes.
Yeah,
But it would lead up into the Hulk movie up until the point where the dogs where he fights the dogs, and that would be the end of the recording. And I would watch that 100 times until it eventually came back on TV, and I had the full recording of it. But that was just like on TV on Sci-Fi. And I just was like, oh, bad, bad. Didn't know how much space we had. Started the recording early.
yeah,
Back in the old DVR days.
yeah. Because that's like a really goofy recording schedule for something like that.
Yeah, because I think I just started like pressed recording whenever, because just little 11-year-old whatever,
Yeah.
probably younger. And we had so many things recorded because I would just like record episodes of Yu-Gi-Oh or X-Men or whatever, Fantastic Four. Big fan of the Fantastic Four movies, by the way.
The Fox ones, like
Yeah, the Fox
the first
ones.
two,
Yeah,
not the 2015 one.
I don't think I've ever actually seen the 2015 one.
Oh boy, oh boy. Well, let's just count yourself lucky, I guess.
I've never done it. Never done it to myself.
Well, good.
I'm
Well,
excited for the new one.
yeah, the new one should be good.
Pedro Pascal.
Yeah, hopefully that works out. Um, but
But
yeah,
it's definitely the dog fight.
the dog fight is really good. The dog fight is really good. I like the opening Hulk out. That one's really good. I like the dog fight. The whole sequence where he's, I guess I could say like the, is it tough to say that the probably the best one is probably the one where he's the Hulk the longest,
Where he goes from the tanks to San Francisco.
where he goes from the lab to the tanks to San Francisco, because that's like where he's the Hulk the longest, and
It's the most impressive part of the movie.
because
It feels like the most like bombastic and
that's
accelerated and like continuous.
that's where the budget went, right there.
Yeah, that's why everything else is all chalky.
That's why everything else is in shadow or everything else is at night. Because literally, other than that sequence where he's in the lab and then he goes outside and then he's going to San Francisco, that whole sequence takes place during the
Is it
day.
pretty much at night,
Yeah, everything else is at night.
or
The
in a lab,
or
or
in a
like
lab.
Hulk is not involved?
Yeah, yeah. So my favorite Hulk out. I don't know. I like the same. I like when Talbot's like beating him up, and then he's like, "Talbot, you're making me angry," and Talbot's like, "Oh, am I?"
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh, really? How about this? Bzz.
yeah. Uh, Talbot's a great guy. Really funny.
What an actor.
What an actor. What an asshole. Um, but yeah. So I loved also whenever we were getting. So this is supposed to be like a big like psychological thriller type movie with a lot of like deep shit to make you really like think like, and it's supposed to be like a good character study and just like blah 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 blah. um I get hints of that here and there within the movie, but I think the thing that stuck out to me the most was the structure of the Hulk outs, like how each Hulk out had to be sort of its own thing. Like what causes the Hulk out is different each time. Like the first Hulk out is done due to like a big stress dump. Like he's so stressed out, he just hulks out, which plays out a little goofy on camera. Like in motion, it plays out a little goofy because you're just like, what the fuck did he hulk out from? Like he tripped over a mop.
Yeah.
So
Is it
what?
the metabol? Is it that all of the chemicals and everything in his body have metabolized? Is it that he's stressed out? Is it that it's just to get the plot moving?
Yeah, because that's kind of what it feels like a little bit. Because like we're like 30, 40 minutes into the movie, and then they're like, okay, we need to give the people what they paid for. We got to give them the Hulk.
Oh yeah, but damn it, we made it 2 hours and 18 minutes.
Yeah, yeah. They easily could have fit in an hour 45. Did not need to be over 2 hours long.
Nope.
And I think that's in big part due to the pacing of the dialogue, because the dialogue is so fucking slow.
I will say that my favorite shot of the movie is when his mom gets stabbed and she's holding her hand out to the explosion.
That's a good shot. Yeah,
I just think that's so cool because out of context, you're like, what is this about?
yeah. No, that is really good. The cinematography, I think, is like, here and there. Could be good, could be bad, could be a little too artsy fartsy for its own sake. And then you have like shots like that work really well.
And then the very early 2000s, like X-Men, like inside a body or molecular level structure stuff.
Yeah. I mean,
CGI kind of ways.
I also like there are some parts where the acting is actually like good, and the
Anytime Sam Elliott yells.
When Sam Elliott's yelling and not choking on his mustache.
Oh, dude, the way
He's
they cut it is so funny.
yeah. I love when
It's
he's like yelling at Bruce, and he's just like yelling at him and getting really in his ass, and It's like, I'll put you away for the rest of your natural life. It's just like, when Sam Elliott is delivering one of his monologues, it's like, okay, the dialogue is allowed to be slow so that I can hang on every word.
He's in the same field as his father.
which, granted, yeah, that is a pretty big coincidence.
It's pretty ridiculous.
To be fair, the exact same field of study as his father, who he has no memory of, apparently.
And then also some of the scenes, Nick Nolte's bringing it.
Nick
Like
Nolte,
the little quiet scene with Jennifer Connelly when she goes over and he's cleaning off the couch and he's like, sit down.
yeah. I really liked the scene. See, so this is kind of goofy because in bites, these scenes are good. As part of a whole, they can be a little confusing. I really like the scene where he witnesses his son turn into the Hulk for the first time at the lab at Berkeley, and
You're beautiful.
and he like holds his hand out. He's like touching his face, which, by the way, really great blend of the effect. Like, I saw that and I was like, it really looks like he's actually like touching the Hulk's face.
He's touching something for sure.
Yeah, it looked really well done. And
Good old baby face Hulk.
yeah, really spoiled by the fact that the Hulk looks like the people that he turns into nowadays, because this Hulk doesn't look anything like Eric Bana, which is like, whatever, you know. Lou Ferrigno didn't look anything like Bill Bixby, so it is what it is.
It is.
But I really liked I loved the artistry on the Hulk in that scene. I love the expressiveness they put on his model, because I love being able, because the Hulk has to act as well and has to be expressive without talking, because the Hulk doesn't talk except for like a few select scenes here and there, and it's very minimal. So he has to be able to express through the visuals, and they do a good job of that. And then when he jumps through the building and starts like hopping away, Nick Nolte has this moment where he's like, you know, he's crying. He's like, "Oh man, my Bruce, you know, that's my Bruce," and he feels like shit because
what have I done?
It's a what have I done moment, and he's finally like, the totality of the experimentations he's done to himself that's been passed along to his son has now manifested before his eyes, and he's fully hit with the weight of his actions. And that moment in and of itself, removed from the context of the rest of the movie, is such a beautiful scene. But then you add in all the stuff where he's like a bad guy who's trying to kill people indiscriminately because they are deemed threats to him, or the fact that he's trying to steal his son, or the fact that he's tried to kill his son multiple times now within the runtime of the movie. And it's just like, I don't really buy that you give a shit whether or not something happens to your son. You know, it's hard to balance that level of humanity you're trying to convey with all the other actions you've done throughout the movie.
Well, the problem is that he doesn't care about Bruce. He cares about the Hulk.
Yeah. And that could be from a fatherly standpoint if done right, but from this particular standpoint, it's more from some kind of idea that he just wants the Hulk's power. It boils down to a very Saturday morning plot.
You want my power? Take it all.
Probably like one of my favorite tropes. It's not a good trope, but it's like one of my favorite tropes, where like,
I love it.
the bad guy the bad guy gets exactly what they wanted, but they get too much of it, so they die. And this movie is like a prime example of it's funny because it's like, you're the absorbing man, so you absorb things, and yet
It's too much.
Hulk is too much, which I kind of like. I think it's a little goofy if you think about it too much, but I kind of like the idea that the Hulk is so inherently strong and radiant with power that even something like the absorbing man is not strong enough to absorb that power.
Think, Mark. Think.
Yeah. Think. You're willing to die for them.
To absorb my power.
That's basically
Think, Mark, think.
That's basically what Nick Nolte's like whole like monologue was right before that whole like final action
Before
sequence
he
happened.
bites the power
Before he bites. Look and think of all the harm that they've done to you, to me, to humanity.
Well, I guess I'll do this.
Yep. You want me to go? Fine, I'll go. You just watch me go. And he casually just bites the insulation out of that wire. And Sam
It
Elliott,
looks
without
so
thinking about
good.
it,
It actually looks amazing.
Sam Elliott, without even having any idea this guy has powers, just like hit it,
Hit him.
fry him on the spot.
Fuck it. Kill it.
So we had the first Hulk out, which was stress. It was a stress inducer. The second one was a response to getting his ass beat. So it was like pain stimuli, and also the fact that his girlfriend was going to die. So like I guess you could say stress as well. But I like to think of it as him getting his ass beat, so he hulks out,
Getting zapped a little bit.
getting zapped a little bit. Well, that was in the lab. He didn't get zapped until he was in
I
the
thought he
lab.
brought that one. I thought he had, for some reason in my head, that scene's jumbled together with it. I thought he
No,
was zapping him when he was at the house too.
no, he was just straight giving him hands.
Hell yeah.
And then the third one was nightmare induced.
Yeah, when he's having the premonition or
The repressed
he's
memories.
recalling, yeah, the repressed memories and recalling all of it.
Yeah.
Which I love. Love the one scene when he's in the water thing. I don't know why we don't do that more often.
Why do we not put Hulks in water tanks?
Wait, why don't we just put superheroes in water tanks to have them have repressed memories, you know?
Why not?
I feel like that should just come back.
It should. I guess they do so. They do not do so because there is not an intent that the person's going to break out of it immediately afterwards. But I feel like if
There's
you're going
not
to,
a chance that we can catch them monologuing.
if you have to, right. That was so funny. That was so funny. We were watching the movie, and like Nick Nolte or somebody will start monologuing, and then we'll just look at each other with like those eyes, and we'll just be like, "What does he start doing?" He starts monologuing. He starts monologuing.
Oh, you caught me monologuing, you sly dog.
Exactly. It's so goofy, and it's so goofy because it's just like, oh, dude, why do you feel the need to go into some long-winded speech about just the goofiest thing? And what's even funnier is The Incredibles came out like was in development when this film came out. So I mean, this is like the height, right? This is like the peak of when superhero movies were like really becoming a big thing. And
All before the year Iron Man and the Batman Begin or Dark Knight comes out.
yeah,
Batman Begins is around this time.
Batman Begins is like 2005, I think.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, like so The Incredibles comes out, and then it's just like a huge like commentary on superhero movies in general. And then we get I mean, we had movies like X-Men already. You had Spider-Man come out. I think this movie had a lot to live up to when compared to something like Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm. I mean, even the original Batman did numbers.
The 89 Batman.
Yeah, the Tim Burton Batman and X-Men.
Well, that's what's so interesting. If you look at like the timeline of superhero movies in general.
I mean, Daredevil probably already was out.
Was Daredevil out? I thought it was 2004. It might have been. They were making so many movies. This was like the first boom before 2008.
Yeah, like we had Superman, Batman, and then there was a little bit of a lull, and then they started up again in the late 90s, early 2000s.
It was the same year.
Daredevil was?
Yeah. Daredevil came out.
Hell yeah, it was.
Hulk came out first.
Okay.
It came out in the summer, and then Daredevil 2003 came out in September.
Imagine you saw both of those the same year, and you were just like, dude, superhero movies are back.
Yeah, for real. Like you see. You're
And
like,
then
oh,
Sky
dude.
High and Incredibles.
Yeah, no, Sky High is for legit good. But I mean, if you look at the timeline for superhero movies, you've got really before the boom, because it all started with Blade and X-Men. Before them, there was really nothing. There were superhero movies, but there was nothing big. No big box office hits. Like you had some
Howard the Duck.
Yeah, I was about to say in the 80s you had like some shitters like Howard the Duck. Marvel wasn't really doing anything except for Howard the Duck, the 1990s Captain America movie, And I
Oh,
think
I forgot all about that one.
and
I had that one on VHS.
the biggest thing that they were doing at the time was the Incredible Hulk. And it stands testament to what they were able to do with that with that character's legacy is they were doing the TV show in the 70s, all mostly through the 80s, came back with the TV movies towards the late 80s into the 90s, and then they began developing on this movie. But meanwhile, all this stuff is going on. You have so many things going on in the comic book industry, the comic book market crash of the 90s, toward the point where the only comic books that were selling were Spider-Man and X-Men. So what happens with Marvel where they go in, they do Blade. I don't remember what the development, history behind Blade was, but they do Blade in 98. They make enough money to where they can then, or Blade does enough financially. I think Blade was under Fox. And then Fox, who at the time had the rights to X-Men, were like, we can now make an X-Men movie. We have the money from Blade. Blade was kind of like a proof of concept. We didn't lose anything off of it. Bit of a sleeper hit. Come in, we do X-Men. X-Men blows the roof off the place. So they're like, oh shit, now we got money. Well, now Sony is throwing their hat in the ring because at the time Sony still had full rights to Spider-Man. And Sony's like, let's throw our hat into the ring. With Spider-Man, for all intents and purposes, completely changes the face of superhero movies. Completely changes the
Broke
landscape.
all the records of box office and shit at the time.
Became the biggest movie in America. Tobey Maguire became the biggest actor in the world. And
Sam Raimi finally gets his acclaim that he deserves.
Sam Raimi finally gets his recognition as a director. Everybody, and then once Spider-Man hit and became the big hit that it was, we were off to the races. That's when
everybody was clamoring to get a superhero.
That's when we got movies like Daredevil. That's when we got movies like Hulk. That's when we got movies like The Punisher, Ghost Rider, Fantastic Four. I mean, that's when we got everything, and it all hit the floodgates. And what's funny is that Hulk 2003 has to, in some way, fit into all of this. It has to find some way to become a part of this history. And if you go back to this era, and we're spoiled now. We've got so many superhero movies, way more to count, way more than we can count. And
shows all day.
We got
X-Men 97, Invincible, The Boys.
Daredevil,
we got
Born Again,
non-Marvel, non-DC.
Like the landscape is so much more different now than it was back then that we forget what it was like to be a superhero movie in the early 2000s. That you didn't have to abide by these strict limitations of what a superhero movie is. So meanwhile, you've got all these different origin story. Or I feel like the one thing that everybody had to start with was the origin story. If you were a superhero movie in the early 2000s, you were more than likely going to be an origin story, unless you're like Daredevil. Because Daredevil wasn't an origin story. It kind of was, but it wasn't. Hulk is an origin story, but it's not at all your traditional superhero story. The Hulk doesn't really like save people except for one scene in the movie where he stops a jet from crashing into the Golden Gate Bridge. And that's like one of those things that happens in a split second, and you're like, immediately you can call they only did that because the Hulk doesn't save anybody else in the movie except for Betty Ross. Right? The only person he's protecting is Betty Ross. And that's not from I'm proactive superhero, I've got to go save people. That's my ex-girlfriend, I don't want her to die.
It's hilarious because the whole time I was even saying, like, I don't know about you, but I'm kind of on Thaddeus Ross's side right now.
I mean, it's the same argument between Cecil Stedman and Invincible.
Yeah, it's the same thing as I was deep into season 3 already as you were coming over, and I was like, dude, I'm kind of on Cecil's side.
Yeah, I mean, it's and it's probably worse, arguably worse in this case, because Invincible, to compare it to something, Invincible is like his own. He's well within the right side of his mind, you know? Like he's not crazy. We as an audience know Mark is not going to be a bad guy. Obviously, from Cecil's perspective, he doesn't know that. He can't trust that. But in this case, in Hulk's case, it's a lot different because it's the Hulk. It's designed. It's literally designed and born from anger and rage, and is meant to be an uncontrollable monster. So Thunderbolt Ross sitting there thinking to himself, I've got to find some way to control this thing. I've got to find some way to get this under my thumb so that it doesn't hurt people. Because we've seen so far in the movie the unpredictability of the Hulk combined with Bruce's personality. Like, just off top of the dome, there was the whole sequence where he just beat up the dogs. He just kills the dogs. He reverts back into Bruce Banner. And then he goes to comfort Betty. Betty doesn't even do anything. He gets so worked up and angry over the fact that his dad sent the dogs. He starts choking Betty.
It doesn't even make sense. We were both like, what? What?
Why does he choke her?
He's just out of it.
He's just out of it. He's mad. He's just upset.
He's just not a chill dude.
But think about it. And that's the only thing that I sided with Betty on, because Betty's not like the worst character. She's Jennifer Connelly, I think, was probably just had like a lot of like bad direction with this character. She didn't really know what she was doing. But I really agreed with her in the scene where she calls her dad to come get Bruce from the cabin. Because after that literally just happened to her, where he's unstable. He's unstable. She's scared. She has every right to be scared. The dude just turned into a 15-foot tall monster and beat up a bunch of other monsters and then choked her when she didn't do anything.
When he was just a normal person, he wasn't even the Hulk anymore.
Imagine what could have happened if he was the Hulk.
I have no friends. They think I'm unstable.
I'm so lonely.
I'm so lonely.
Watch season 3 of Invincible, ladies and gentlemen.
It's so good.
But yeah, no, it's really interesting. The history of this movie is really interesting. The legacy of this movie is really interesting. You know, Edward Norton was actually supposed to be in this movie, but he was being his Edward Norton self, and they got Eric Bana to replace him.
He's like, you know what? I'd rather be in the Italian Job.
Yeah, whatever he was doing around that time, I'm sure it was the Italian Job.
I think that's the only one that's around that time.
Yeah. But
it's probably 2 years later or something.
But as history would show us, you know, he would eventually become as history would show us, he did eventually become Bruce Banner, the Hulk, in the 2008 movie, which is in that weird limbo of is it supposed to be a sequel? Was it ever supposed to be a sequel? I think yes. The script indicated, just looking at the screenplay, that at some point, and again, I'm not up to date on the development of it, so I shouldn't be talking about that movie while we're still talking about this movie, but the way it's set up is it makes it seem like it's supposed to be a sequel. It basically picks back up in a very similar area of the world. It changes some things about the origin, which is to be expected. But the setup is pretty much the same. Yeah.
My headcanon is that it's always like from this movie to the Incredible Hulk to the Mark Ruffalo adaptation of it is all the same character. It makes it easier for me to be like, man, this guy's been on a journey.
Well, we know for
Since
sure
Mark Ruffalo hasn't had his own movie.
Well, we know for sure that the Edward Norton movie is canon to the.
It comes back up in Brave New World.
It comes back up in Brave New World. It comes back up in actually the What If TV show as well.
Oh, it does.
Yeah. So the Mark Ruffalo version is canonically supposed to be the same as the Edward Norton version,
but not the 2003 one. But in my headcanon, it is.
Which, you know, it's your headcanon. You can do whatever you want with it, but
exactly.
But it's also just kind of interesting looking at this movie. Like, this movie does, to me, my headcanon is this movie just unfortunately stands on its own because it's just not it doesn't have it for whatever reason. Universal, I guess, was struggling to get a sequel out for this. I don't know if the movie did well at the box office. Um, it seems like it would have because it's a superhero movie from the early 2000s. But that's also just my speculation. I can look it up right now, actually. It had a budget of 137 million. Its box office was 245 million.
Did well.
Did well. I'd say it broke even. I'd have to look at Spider-Man numbers to really like get a good comparison of what a movie like this would have had to have
I think
made
Spider-Man did like
financially.
400 something.
Yeah, something like that. Spider-Man 1 was 2002 and its budget was, let's see y'all, 139 million. Its box office was 825 million dollars.
Yeah, so it's probably like one of those domestic and
Oh
international
yeah,
and
total.
big box office. Yeah.
Total, yeah. It's a worldwide box office.
Yeah. Big numbers though.
Big
Almost a
numbers.
billion.
Almost a billion. It was almost $1 billion franchise back before $1 billion franchises even existed to really show. And that's
Yeah,
just
all three together is fucking so much money. And then
yeah,
all the merchandise and stuff too. Oof.
yeah. I mean, yeah, the merchandise I think is where they really sold it for that. I think this movie had the unfortunate like foothold of kind of being stuck in that place of being like, well, if we sell toys for this, it's going to get kids involved. The problem is it's not a very kid-friendly movie. And
No.
I don't mean that in the sense of it's like of I don't mean that in the sense of like, oh, kids can't watch it. I mean kids won't want to watch it.
Hey, I did when I was little.
I did too when I was younger, but
But you,
when the movie first came out and I was like 5, this movie was not for me.
no.
And but the thing is, I loved Incredible Hulk toys. Especially when the 2008 film came out, I was all about the toys.
Oh yeah.
And I loved
I
the
was
movie
watching
at the same
I was
time.
watching the old show on Sci-Fi still.
Yeah. And but back in 2003, I didn't know anything about the show. I didn't know anything about the show until around 2008 when the Edward Norton movie dropped. And in 2003, I remember going to see this movie in the theater with my cousin, and my cousin was relatively the same age as me. I think he would maybe even been a little bit younger. And we were watching the movie, and I'm telling you right now, we were asleep 80% of the movie. And we only woke up whenever the Hulk was on screen because that's what you go to see this movie for. You go to see the movie for the Hulk. Especially when you're a kid, you're not used to not seeing the superhero all the time. You know, when you've got Peter Parker, you've always got Spider-Man because he's always Spider-Man. It's a lot more engaging for a younger audience.
I'm a bit of a scientist myself.
Exactly. Um,
I was dozing off and it's 2025.
you were dozing off during this movie in 2025.
Yeah, when
Yeah.
we were watching just towards the middle bit, but it was more because of all the food we had.
Yeah, we smashed. Did you keep that pizza in the fridge?
Oh yeah.
Okay,
Oh yeah.
good.
It's gone, buddy.
It's gone.
Don't worry about it.
Oh man. But no, yeah, it's funny. It says right here that a planned sequel was supposed to have been released in 2005 and repurposed as a reboot title. Huh. So it seems like here that when they were coming up with sequel ideas, there was never an intention to make a sequel to this movie. They were going to reboot the movie 2 years later, which ended up being 5 years later, whenever they did the Incredible Hulk movie, officially becoming the second film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
That's whenever they were doing the deal where it was like Universal gets one, Paramount gets this one, this guy gets this other one.
Yeah, this movie
Before,
is
before Disney got it all.
I think the Hulk character is still the only holdout left, is still owned by Universal.
Oh yeah, and they're not letting it go as long as they got the ride.
Yeah, they're holding on to that with all the dear life because I think if you could try to so pretty much everything at this point is on Disney Plus, like all the X-Men movies, all the other Fox related properties like Daredevil, Blade, all those guys. At Blade, maybe not Blade. Um, but for the most part, pretty much all of them are either on Disney Plus or coming to Disney Plus. The Incredible Hulk or Hulk in general are not. I think the Incredible Hulk with Edward Norton might be. You'd assume.
You'd think, but I don't think it is.
Let's see. It is. It's on Disney Plus.
Oh, okay.
I think for the longest time it wasn't on Disney Plus.
It's been hard to get your hands on.
Yeah. Yep, but yeah.
I bet Paramount wishes they got so much more money for Avengers.
Oh, I know. Especially considering how much money it made.
Oh yeah.
The trade was not worth it. That's for sure.
No. They should have got much more. Same thing with George Lucas. I bet he's so mad that he didn't sell Disney or didn't sell Star Wars to Disney for so much more.
Well, from what I understand, the thing that he's upset about is that they won't let him have a more creative control.
Oh yeah, I mean,
like he's not.
It would feel a lot better not having creative control with a few more Billies.
Yeah, I mean, as far as I understand, I know it's so off kilter, but he's not. He's not mad about the money.
48 minutes in.
He's not mad about the money. He's mad that they won't do what he says.
Well, yeah.
But let's see here. Baby. I wanted to check this out real quick. These are the movies that Hulk had to compete with.
Oh, in 2003?
In 2003 at the box office. So, on its first, on the opening weekend,
Finding Nemo.
It had to compete with Finding Nemo. It actually managed to beat out Finding Nemo at the box office in its opening weekend. It also surpassed Austin Powers, The Spy Who Shagged Me. So it managed to score the biggest opening weekend in June. And then it would last. So Hulk managed to have the highest opening box office in June of 2003 until Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban would beat it the following year.
Oh, that one slaps too.
Yeah. So let's see.
Man, what a great June.
So in 2003, it also had to compete with. So 2003, it was competing with films like Finding Nemo. X2 also came out that year, and The Matrix Reloaded.
Dude, imagine going to the movies that year.
It was a good year for movies. Maybe not Matrix Reloaded, but it was a good year for movies.
That was the only one I didn't care for, but all the other ones.
Yeah.
Prisoner of Azkaban is my favorite Harry Potter movie.
However, even though it had the highest opening weekend record, it had the second highest second weekend drop.
No.
It was this movie has a unique place in history. It was the first movie to open with over $20 million in the box office, and then the following weekend drop over 65%.
Makes sense.
So it leads me to believe, and I don't remember what the marketing was like for this movie. I was 5 when this movie was coming out, so I'm not really familiar with the marketing, but I have seen a few of the trailers over the years. And if memory serves, it seems based on the marketing, people thought they were going to get a totally different type of movie than what they got. Because I can tell you right now, I, as an Incredible Hulk fan, love a lot of the psychological stuff, a lot of the slow stuff, a lot of the, different pace stuff of the Incredible Hulk. I'm a huge fan of the TV show, and the TV show is a lot like that. But the TV show also had to play against a budget of like $10,000 a week. And they also had to, the whole formula of them sparingly using the Hulk, they did that because they didn't have the budget to destroy a whole bunch of stuff. It cost nothing to put Lou Ferrigno in the costume. But whenever the Hulk was on screen, you got what you got. And even then, Bill Bixby is charismatic enough of a character to carry a TV show and a movie. Eric Bana does not have that same charisma, and the Hulk is only on screen long enough to keep adults interested, and even then, we're hanging on by a thread. So we're kind of just like in the wind on. It makes sense why this movie had such a significant drop, is what I'm trying to say. And it also makes sense why it has the scores that it has, critically speaking.
And the Danny Elfman score.
Oh, man. Talk about something that hasn't aged poorly. Something that has aged poorly, excuse me. Like, the score is really good, don't get me wrong, but it's really hard to go back to anything Danny Elfman after all the, accusations and the allegedlys coming out.
It's just so tragic. He made such bangers.
I mean, 89 Batman is still one of my favorite films of all time. His score in that is legendary. But I have to, but this is one of those cases where it's like it's hard to separate.
Can't even watch Nightmare Before Christmas with a good feeling anymore.
No, it's because it's tainted. It's tainted.
I know. Now every time there's an accusation, I'm just like, what's this? What's this?
All right. Do you have anything else you want to say about Hulk, or should we wrap up?
I fucking just love it. I just love it. Even though it's fucking garbage, it's slow, it fucking drags, makes me sleepy. I fucking just love it so much.
It's so fun. I love the Hulk stuff. I'll say that.
I just love it. No, I love the whole movie, even the parts that suck. It just is so... It's just so good. It makes me feel like it's like I'm fucking watching it on Sci-Fi again. It's such a good movie.
I feel like nostalgia plays a huge factor.
Oh yeah, it's hugely nostalgic. It's just garbage trash superhero movies, and I just wish we made them like this again. They don't all have to be super connected. They can just be bad.
You can have something be bad and have it not affect the next movie you see.
Exactly. It's just its own thing.
Like I could watch Hulk, not like it, and still go and enjoy Spider-Man 2.
Exactly.
But yeah, I mean, I feel similarly. I think nostalgia plays a huge factor in why I like it, and the fact that I'm a huge Incredible Hulk fan. It plays so many different roles in why I like this. I like the Hulk stuff. If the movie was more like the Hulk stuff, it's kind of like whenever you watch a Godzilla movie, you're like, okay, this is good, but I want more Godzilla. Like the 2014 Godzilla movie is a lot like that.
But God, I love the 2014 one.
I enjoy it too. I mean, first Godzilla movie I ever saw in theaters, so has that level of nostalgia for me. But this is also the first Hulk movie I saw in theaters, so there's that. We'll take that.
I've never seen any of them in theaters. I don't think.
I've seen this one, the 2008 one I saw on my birthday, I think, after Kung Fu Panda. Or no, I think I went to go see Kung Fu Panda in theaters. Because that was a really 2008 was a tough year because I was 10 years old, and the Incredible Hulk movie and Kung Fu Panda were coming out the same weekend.
That's so funny.
So I think
I never saw movies opening weekend until I was in high school because we had a dollar theater in Florida when I lived there. So I always saw movies like 6 months later. Right. But like I saw the Dark Knight, I saw Thor 1, like I saw a bunch of them, but I didn't see all of them, and I never saw them like the day they came out.
Right. I wanted to see The Dark Knight in theaters so bad. But I
saw that and The Dark Knight Rises. Both times I was like, oh.
I think I saw Dark Knight Rises in theaters.
I did tell a story where I did see Transformers opening weekend. That was like the only time, and my dad was like, oof, real ticket prices. Never again.
Yeah. I feel like when we did the Transformers movie, I feel like you said something about that.
I feel like I was like, I'm pretty sure I did tell that story already.
But that's a great story. But anyway, that's I think that wraps it up for us.
That's the Hulk, baby.
Yeah. Next time on Action Jack-Offs is probably going to be a collab,
A special guest?
a special guest. I don't know which one we're doing yet. I don't know if we're doing X or Y. I don't want to reveal what it is yet because I don't know if we're gonna stick to it or not. But
We'll let them know later.
we'll let them know. We'll let them know when it drops. All right, that's gonna be it from us. Make sure you guys have a special rest of your lives, and we'll see you guys later.
Peace.